Hey, peace and love, family. Um, Going in today on authentication again. I want to go real broad so then we can focus in because there's still a lot of people out there that really don't understand what's going on and get it. Um, you got people out here teaching things that are, you could say, an opinion they have based on the knowledge they have, which is not necessarily a bad thing, but I would say they needed to study much more into this topic. Um, when it comes to authentication, the purpose of Moors authenticating their birth certificate, or any document, is for travel. But let's go first into authentication, actually what it is lawfully. And as y'all can see, it's the Department of State is where you find the actual authentication. So let me see. I got it right here. And this is from Black's Law Second Edition. This is the online one, but I want to break down the definition. In the law of evidence, this is asking what is authentication in the law of evidence. So we're talking about evidence right now. This is what we're referring to. Evidence. We're not using this for nothing else but evidence. Or this only applies to evidence. The act or mode of giving authority or legal authenticity to a statute, record, or other written instrument or certified copy, therefore, so to render it legally admissible in evidence. Okay, that said a lot there because it talks about statutes, records, instruments, all of these things. So I'm gonna narrow it down, take out a few words, and read it like that so we can get it. In the law of evidence, the act or mode of giving authority or legal authenticity to and we're going to jump down to a certified copy because we know the birth certificate is the certified copy. Therefore, so to render it legally admissible in evidence. Okay, so this is to use it as evidence. Now, there are a lot of Moors out there that say the birth certificate was created under fraud. Well, if that's so, you would have to rebut it with evidence. I mean, does that make sense, people? Like, there's a maximum of law that says anything that can be proven must be proven. So, let's get into the travel aspect of authentication, and I'll see maybe if I can start to make this a little bit clearer for people. The Department of State Office Authentication issues both apostilles and authentication certificates. Okay, so I'm gonna go down. Apostilles and authentication certificates. It has to do with the treaty, this Hague Convention. Apostille certificates, or certificate, the sealed signature of the officials of public documents such as birth certificates, court records, blah blah blah, issued by public authorities so that they can be recognized in foreign countries that are members of the Hague Convention Treaty. So basically, anyone that has signed on to this treaty or the Hague Convention, which is just it was a treaty that they did concerning foreign documents. If you were to say, you want to take your birth certificate, court order, diploma, things of that sort across seas. Let's say you got admitted to Oxford, after graduating from West Point or Yale or something out here, wanted to get higher education, you would have to authenticate your diploma to take it over there to be used. But the thing is, and this goes into when people ask, how do I authenticate my birth certificate or any document right? The only thing that will keep you from getting an authentication is putting a country down that is a part of this treaty. they'll give you a apostille. Authentication certificates you get, they're issued by the Department of State for the same purpose as apostilles, but for use in countries that are not members to the 1961 Hague Convention Treaty. So basically, you would have to be putting down on the application a country that is foreign to this Hague Convention or to that treaty. So to get an authenticated document is basically you're getting a document to take outside of their jurisdiction, to travel outside of their jurisdiction. I hope y'all hear me, people, because we're trying to take this record, which we're not saying is authentic, we're using it as evidence of something to take outside of their jurisdiction, so to be legally admissible. This is why people, say claim the birth certificate, be the registered owner, or things of that sort. Once you get past the authentication process, different people, most people, I'll say, disagree. That's when different processes start to come in, and it's just about how you legally make your claim. I'll say that, ours is one of the best out there, but that's here or there. But what I'm trying to drive home right now is that this authentication is not to make the document authentic. We're not trying to be a party to the fraud. We're calling out the fraud, and we're actually attaching documents to it, or fixing documents to it for that exact purpose. Now, ours goes into nationality, expatriation, the bonds, claims, all of that stuff. We have a whole counter deed that we do to that instrument, so that it's a different type of record. It's an altered record. So there is a rebuttal to the all cap straw, to the the race ethnicity as being black in this document. But the thing is, to make it admissible as evidence, you have to have an authentic copy first. Now, I'm gonna go a little bit further, because we also get full faith and credit. Let me see if I can pull this up. I got it on my Instagram. All right, this is on the front of authentication certificate from the federal level, basically saying that the seals from the states are entitled to full faith and credit. And I've broken this one down previously on the video too, but it's interesting, since I did that video, they actually came along on the same website where I got the source, Investopedia, and there's a few other ones out there too, but that one in particular, I know they changed it. So they don't even want you to really know what full faith and credit is, and it seems like when I put it out there, they switched up. I'm gonna go directly to their website, show you from here, and then I'm gonna go back and show you for my Instagram, a previous one, how they had it, but they changed this part at the bottom. They dropped some stuff down and they took some stuff out. Full faith and credit is a phrase used to describe the unconditional guarantee or commitment by one entity to back the interest and principal of another entity's debt. Now, we know the straw man is an entity, so just keep that in mind. Full faith and credit commitment is typically employed by a government to help a lower borrowing cost of a smaller, less stable government, like a state or a city, a municipality, or a government-sponsored agency. Now, this first phrase is what a lot of people are looking for when they're trying to discharge, things of that sort, and they don't know how to apply it. I understand that, but just to confirm that it's real, I'm keep going. The full faith and credit refers to the full borrowing power of a government which pledges to fulfill its payment obligations in a timely manner. You know what I'm looking for? I was actually looking for the stuff that's on the other one, because I've been looking back and forth over these documents today. Let's go back just a bit. Now this is the exact same site, investopedia.com, and you can see, you know, on the breakdown of full faith and credit, it doesn't start with the government mortgage, Guinea May or none of that there. Like, that's not even here. That's what I'm saying. Like, they changed some stuff. And I want to say they kind of go into it right here in this packet. Not packet. Paragraph. Municipal debt issued by smaller government entities such as municipalities may also have full faith and credit of the issuer. So, the vital statistics, you get full faith and credit, you know, from there through the state of Texas when you send it up, because that's a smaller government than the federal government. And, you know, you just annex it on all the way up. But let me go back to this definition. Okay. We already read the unconditional guarantee or commitment to back the interest and principal of another entity's debt. Okay, now, the full faith and credit of the U.S. government essentially confers a risk-free status to securities such as U.S. Treasuries. A risk-free status to these bonds, these documents, is what they're doing. Part of full faith and credit. You know, so when people say, you know, you don't have the ability to discharge and things like that, y'all change something up. Oh, actually, here's the Guinea Man right here. See, they dropped that down, what, 3-4 paragraphs, even talking about it. Also has a sponsored by full faith and credit. Full faith and credit. Securities. Yeah, see, they changed it up, you know, just from us going in and doing our due diligence. You know, they've went in and changed some stuff up, so we know, you know, they don't want us to know this information, you know, and you can clearly see, oh, went too far, that was not in the other one. Let me go this way one time. Full faith and credit. This is from the Financial Dictionary. This is another one I want to go into too. A situation in which the government agrees to repay a debt no matter what. For example, if a bond backed by full faith and credit of the United States, the U.S. must find some way to repay the bond or repay the debt. It goes into the treasuries, these other bonds, and some other debts, securities, are called full faith and credit bonds because they have this backing. Municipalities may also attach full faith and credit to their bonds, but this means less than the credit of the United States, of course. But, you know, as we read earlier, you know, the upper or higher level entity will back the lower entity. That's what the authentication process is, getting your birth certificate authenticated through these different levels, because you have to send it to the Secretary of State first, and then to the federal level, to DC. So, as I broke down in the other video, I didn't really explain it in this one. Authentication is the second and third processes after a notary. So, any document that's notarized, basically, can be authenticated. But it just happens that the birth certificate, you know, is a little bit more than just a regular affidavit. It's a bond, you know, printed on banknote paper. Matter of fact, let me get into that, because I want to go a little bit further. This is part of what we got going on. Our status correction process. You know, this is private side. This is not the public side, and you know, this is just one of the documents. There are a few more, but authenticate your birth certificate. You must first identify / acquire the birth certificate excuse me, as the long form certificate of live birth. Sorry, y'all, I'm getting messages back and forth, so if I'm looking down or something, I'm not talking. There are 2 long forms and 2 short forms. Here's a long form and a short form. They're both City of New York. Now, the 2 long forms are the city/municipal bond document and the state/register bond document. You can tell the difference by the seals at the bottom. The city/municipal certificate of live birth has a city seal and a state seal. The state or register bond certificate of live birth has 2 state seals. And here's some examples. These are actually mine. You see on the left it has a City of Houston seal, and on the right it's the Texas, but it also has City of Houston vital statistics. So we know this was definitely issued at the municipal level. Now here's the state bond or the registered bond, and as you can see on the left, State of Texas, Department of State, Public Health, vital statistics one on the right. So these were issued out of 2 jurisdictions, and there are 2 long forms, 2 short forms. So I just showed you the difference in the long forms. You could go back and find the short forms, but when it comes to authentication for the purposes of these claims and whatnot, the short form, people say you really don't need to do that one. I say it really doesn't matter as much. What you do want is the long forms, and I've done one, but I'm going back to do the other because I found some legal reasons why you might need both, and you just might want to claim both on both levels at the same time as well. So I'll definitely be informing people on that a little bit more in the future. I don't have all the information right now, but what I will say is that, depending on what processes you're trying to do, you may need a different one. Like the municipal level bond is considered to be, or municipal birth certificate is considered to be closest to the original. So people say authenticate that one. But if you're trying to go through the process to get a passport, a U.S. passport, in the non-citizen national status or any status, they need a state level birth certificate. They can't use the municipal level, even if it is authenticated. I'm pretty sure even if it's authenticated, they still want the one with the state seals. As what they website said when I was working on this process at one point in time before. And looks like I just overtalked that next paragraph. But like I say, the preferred one most people say is the municipal or city level certificate of live birth getting authenticated as advised. It's close to the original. There's another thing. Make a scanned copy of your records. Like scan it into a computer before you send it in for authentication, and once you get it back from the state, scan that one in too on top. Like just scan the top page and then do the same thing once you get it back from DC with the final one. So that way you'll have basically digital copies, and you won't have to worry about trying to take it apart or detach it, which will basically make it lose all its legal weight if you unattach it. So that's something you don't want to do. Another thing I did, y'all can check this out, I filled it out in my free national name, and I keep that receipt, and I have it together with all those other documents. See this. Let me read this at the bottom real quick. This process does not make your certificate of live birth authentic. It grants your natural person the right to take your straw man out of their jurisdiction by certifying the document. Once you receive it back, there will be a certificate from the state attached, scan it in for your records, do not attach. Basically what I was just saying. They're gonna have a certificate on top. Don't take it off. Scan it in so you have some good copies. And fill it out in your natural name so they're conveying it over to the natural person. And I wasn't even gonna get into this, but there are two ways that you can be a secured party to a document or to a account, bond, or whatever that is. Well, there are 4 ways total, but 2 of them require filing, and two of them don't. And most people that actually study the UCCs, teach them, and all of that, they should know this, but I guess they interpret it differently. And I have the book right now. I could pull it out and show it on camera. But basically, you're a secured party just by possession of the collateral. I don't think I have to say what the collateral is. We talking about it right now. The bond, the birth certificate. Especially when you authenticate it, put it up to the highest level of evidence. So you can make a claim against it. Yeah. So. And the other form is delivery. And believe it or not, people, what constitutes delivery is authentication. When you send it to the Secretary of State, they deliver it back to you. And look at the name on the receipt. Who did they convey this record to? Is your national name on the receipt? You might want to check that out. Maybe go back and get it redone. I don't know. However you feel. But no biggie either way. This is the state certificate right here on the left, and then this is the federal one on the right. So there are 2 different authentication certificates. You can see on both of them I scratched off the numbers for the picture, just to redact the document for safety purposes, but that's what they attach to it. And as you can see in the top left corner, both of them is a brass rivet. These are not my best scans, but I have better scans before then, even before they put that brass rivet in, because that comes from the federal level, not the state level. The state just staples it, or at least out here they do. It's real cheap the way they handle it. Let me read this off, just make sure I didn't miss anything. Repeat the last step. Send the second document DC final authentication. Once you receive it back in the mail, you need to claim it properly as to acknowledge the property of a grant deed / quiet title or quiet deed transfer that just lawfully happened. I'm going to read that one more time, and then I'm going to just ask y'all to get up with me on that, because I can't break that down no further. I've been talking till I'm blue in the face about that. But once you receive the fully authenticated certificate of live birth back in the mail, you need to claim it property as to acknowledge the property of a grant deed / quiet title or quiet deed transfer that just lawfully happened. Your natural person was granted the custodian of the straw man. The doc we use to claim the authenticated certificate of live birth is the affidavit of independent administration. This doc claims nationality, ex-relation, discharge, bond, claim, discharge, qualified expatriation, and all the above. It's a diverse status correction document. Yes, indeed. Especially attaching this authenticated birth certificate because it has a few different implications: the travel and the financial aspects. Filing it. Attach copies of your authenticated birth certificate, all 3 certificates, to the back of your affidavit of independent administration for filing purposes. Combine the documents to be filed with the county recorder of deeds or court that's active, the treasurer, and your state comptroller. Yeah, that's good. A custodian of a record has a secured interest once he authenticates the record. I think I was just talking about that. I didn't realize it was in here. The custodian becomes a secure party after taking custody of bond documents through Rule 44, evidenced by the United States Authentication Certificate. Remember, the certificate of live birth is a doc for authentication. It's not a doc for identification. It's a security printed on banknote paper. Now, I think that was in my Instagram post. I scrolled past it real quick, but if you don't know, just go pull yours out and look at it. Most of them have it at the bottom. It'll show you what banknote company directly is from. But I'll give you the definition of banknote. A banknote resembles a common promissory note issued by a bank or corporation authorized to act as a bank. A corporation authorized to act as a bank. And who issues these birth certificates? The vital statistics? You're authorized to act as a bank? Okay. It is, in fact, a promissory note. But such notes are not, for many purposes, to be considered as mere securities for money, but are treated as money in an ordinary course of transactions of business. I'm going to run that back just a little bit. It is in fact a promissory note, but such notes are not for many purposes to be considered as merely securities for money, but are treated as money. And they're talking about the birth certificate on banknote paper. In the ordinary course and transaction of business, by general consent of mankind and on payment of them. When a receipt is required, the receipts are always given as for money, not as for securities or notes. And that was the definition of banknote. Just followed up, showing Rule 44, Federal Rules of Civil Procedure. If you caught my last video, basically when I was going in on court stuff, remedies, tricks and stuff, their chess moves, I was talking about the state rules of civil procedure, but they have federal rules of procedure as well. And go back and watch that video if you haven't. But this says almost the exact same thing we read off the website. Rule 44, proving an official record to foreign record. In general, each of the following evidences a foreign official record. So it can be official record. Or an entity in it that is otherwise admissible. The record or copy that is attested by an authorized person is accompanied by either a final certificate of genuineness or by a certification under a treaty. Authentication. You remember that Hague Convention Treaty I showed y'all? That was why. Because an authenticated document falls under the treaty. Well, it falls outside the treaty, actually. Or convention, which the United States and the country where the record is located are parties. So, where the parties are located can be outside of the United States jurisdiction. Authentication of a document authorizes the registered / beneficial owner to use the named document for international use, travel within or outside international jurisdictions who have or haven't signed to the October 5th, 1961 Apostle Treaty or the Hague Convention. Because an authenticated document can be used inside or outside that treaty. Now, I think that pretty much wraps it up. It ain't much else you can say that would rebut any of this stuff. We know authentication now, it's for travel. It's for pulling out of jurisdiction. Ain't got nothing to do with the document being authentic or anything like that there. It's treated, as that way just for evidence purposes. But, we're adding affidavits and evidence to it to take it out of that status. You know, to rebut all the misnomers and presumptions. You know, and I don't think I can say much more, y'all. Peace and love.